Have kids always been this disrespectful? I don't think porn was supposed to be on the lesson plan. These are the stories we're going to talk about here today. My name is Miss Charlene, and class is in session here at Reddit Classroom Chronicles. Hello, fellow pupils, and welcome to our second episode of Reddit Classroom Chronicles. If you are new here, I am a math teacher currently teaching middle school in the United States. I have been teaching for 4 years, and if you are planning to become an educator, well, let's just say by the end of the show, you may end up asking yourself, just as I do daily, do I really want to do this job? With that being said, let's dive into our first post. Our first post comes from the subreddit r anti-pornography. It is posted by user what the hell is a put, and the title is Texas teacher accidentally shows porn in class. Yikes. A high school teacher was watching porn in the middle of class and accidentally had it showing on the projector. People have no self-control, good grief. Quote, teacher Kevin Welchel was watching porn on a laptop in Houston's Klein Collins High School when it started showing on the classroom projector, seemingly by accident, end quote. It is an article from the New York Post titled Texas Teacher Faces Jail Time for Allegedly Showing Porn in Class. A Texas high school teacher has been fired and faces up to a year in jail for allegedly screening porn on a projector during class, according to report. Kevin Welchel was watching porn on a laptop in Houston's Klein Collins High School when it started showing on the classroom projector, seemingly by accident, the Houston Chronicle said. The individual was immediately removed and is no longer employed by the district. District spokesperson Justin Albert told the paper, the district does not tolerate such completely unacceptable conduct. In addition to losing his job, Welcher was criminally charged with, quote, display of harmful material to a minor, unquote, a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $4,000, the district told the paper. The district promised that all, quote, appropriate legal action will be taken to the fullest extent of the law. The scandal divided parents, with one mom telling Click to Houston that it was, quote, very inappropriate and, quote, very, very unprofessional, but another saying she was saddened at losing Welcher as an educator. He was an excellent teacher and our children loved him, quote. One of the moms told the station, it's really unfortunate that this happened. The fired teacher did not respond to requests for comment from either outlet. I looked further into this and I found out that actually the laptop he was using was a school issued laptop. I was under the impression that when it is a school issued laptop, there are a lot of things that you can't do on it. I was under the impression that such websites were blocked by the district. I thought that's what happened. Also, why is a teacher using his school issued laptop to watch such a thing? Why can't he use the computer that he has at home? Why shouldn't you be watching that at home on your own personal thing? Why is this teacher doing things like this that students are not allowed to do under school issued electronics, and yet you're doing this to the point that you're accidentally showing this in class to high schoolers? Us as teachers, we need to do better. Some of us need to do better. Anyway, let's go to the comments. The first comment says, and it is from a very unfortunately named username, Dick Slosh. They said, one of my former teachers got arrested for possession of 200 plus CP images. That's child porn. 176 were class A. He had Class A pictures of literal infants on there. Ew. He also had 14,000 non inappropriate pictures of students. He was only given 9 months. He's only on the register for 10 years. That should not happen. That should not be a thing. There are people with barely any drugs. They had barely any drugs in their possession, and they're spending more times than that. Then they're spending years behind bars. And this man had child porn of babies, and he only got 9 months. That should not happen. I don't know whoever that judge is that okayed that 9 months. Whoever agreed to this minute amount of months behind bars, they need to look into them, because that's just gross. No punishment for 14,000 pics of students because they were appropriate images, even though he was clearly jacking off to them. Ugh. He was also an alcoholic, so clearly dealt with porn addiction too. Apparently, he used to teach elsewhere in the country and ran an after-school club where he took groups of kids home and brought them McDonald's. Make of that what you will, but all I have to say is societal brain rot. Yeah, my brain went there. I really, really hope he wasn't grooming these kids. I really hope he wasn't. People use their porn addiction and fetishes to decide their career path, and I'm sick of lib femmes acting like kink and porn is harmless as long as we consume / engage in it ethically. This guy wasn't just jacking off to child porn, just straight up pics of clothed children. He thought, while we had no idea he was thinking of us in that way. Coomer brain rot. Quick edit, he also possessed non-CSAM extreme pornography. The two are intrinsically linked. Non-CSAM is non-child sexual abuse material. Ugh. I'm with the first paragraph, but this person completely lost me with the second paragraph of their comment. I really don't see what libfems have to do with this. I personally don't think there's a link. If anybody know what this person is saying, please put it in the comment. Maybe you can explain it to me better. But right now my brain, he just completely lost me with the second paragraph of his comment. This next comment is a doozy, I won't lie. This person says, my unpopular opinion is that male porn users should have to register as porn users, sex offenders. What? Why just male? Why not male and female? I think it's a reasonable suggestion. I don't see the correlation between porn users and sex offenders. So basically, if you watch porn, you're also a sex offender? What? I think it's a reasonable suggestion. You can watch as much porn as you want, but your name and the porn you watch will be listed on the public registry. What? Again, what is the correlation? I fail to see that. This way, people who might not want to hire a porn addict, say for instance a school, can question or avoid a potential candidate. Additionally, it would be a great tool for background checks, apartment leasing, dating, hiring contractors, finding a good therapist, etc. Wait, what? So this person, is this person trying to say male who watch porn are sex offenders? What? Again, what is the correlation? And then Enchanted the Cat commented and said, didn't this literally just happen with a fifth grade teacher? So I went and researched that and I found the article. It is from ABC 13 Eyewitness News from April 12, 2017, and it was titled HISD Teacher Accused of Accidentally Showing Porn During Class. And why that should not be happening. That should not be happening, especially if you're using your laptop the way you're supposed to. It is a school issued laptop. We should not be using it like it's our personal property. It is not our personal property. It is a school issued laptop. So why are we using these properties as if they're ours? Anyway, HISD is Houston Independent School District. That is how the public school districts in Texas are called. For instance, in Florida, the districts go by counties, but it seems in Texas that's not the case. It seems the school districts can go by cities and counties. So the article says a lesson about the butterfly's life cycle ended with inappropriate content being displayed inside a Houston school, according to parents. A Longfellow Elementary School student's concerned parent reached out to Eyewitness News. He said lesbian pornography popped up on the projector in front of his daughter's fifth grade class. Does it really matter what type of porn it is? The parent asked not to be identified but said he expected a better response from the district. I'm mad about it. Quote, something needs to be done immediately, said the father. It was two women. They were naked and they were kissing. That was one pop-up. The other video had a font or text saying, if you want to watch lesbian porn, click here. HISD released the following statement to ABC 13 saying there is conflicting information about whether lesbian porn actually appeared on the screen. Quote, Longfellow Elementary School received a report from a student and parents that during a class lesson on April 4, an inappropriate image inadvertently appeared while a teacher attempted to show students a YouTube video about butterflies. School administrators were notified along with the district's IT department, which is reviewing the matter. The father said only after he started asking questions did the principal send out a note to parents. Maybe the principal didn't know? Eyewitness News is not identifying the teacher in question since she has not been charged with any crimes. When reached by phone, she quickly hung up when asked about the incident. And the thing is, that's not the only articles and stories that I've seen about that. So why are teachers out there using their school issued laptops as if it's their own property? Like, why? Next post was posted on subreddit rfacepalm by user Ola366. The title is Trying to Teach Disrespectful Students. It is a TikTok link, and I want to warn you, when you hear this, some of you may get really angry. So just fair warning.
Please sit down. Nobody should hurt anybody else. No. No. It is not, fighting is never the answer.
Did I say I was gonna fight?
No, you should never hurt anybody else.
Did I say I was gonna fight? See, that's how I know you put stuff in my mouth. Did I say that? I didn't say that.
Okay, I'm just telling you the violence.
You don't put stuff in my mouth. I didn't do it.
When I watched that video, I'm looking at the teacher's face and she looked like she wanted to cry, which understandable because that little girl was so disrespectful. And it's her parent. It's her mom. Her mom basically made her think that she can talk to other adults any type of way, saying that My mom said it's okay to beat your ass. A student should not be saying that to you. And that's a parent issue. And honestly, I wouldn't blame this teacher if she quit, because who wants to deal with something like this? I know I certainly would not want to. But then again, I do tell my students from the get go, I will defend myself. And whether I beat your ass or not, I will also press charges on you. I let them know. I will do it with the quickness. And I tell them, you do what you will with that information. I just want to take that teacher and just give her a hug, because, oh my God, she looked like she just wanted to cry. One of the comments says, my mom said it's okay to beat your ass. And that right here is the root of the problem, including parents being rude and disrespectful to the teachers too. Such great role models, and I agree. I'm sick and tired of parents treating teachers as if we are beneath them. How are you okay with your child talking to people like that? Another comment says, quote, my mom said I could beat your ass. Quote, fighting is never the answer. Quote, did I say I was going to fight? See, that's how I know you are putting stuff in my mouth. This disrespectful child definitely needs some more education if she does not understand that beating your ass and fighting are essentially the same thing. Shaking my head. Like, that one was confusing to me. Like, the teacher is basically telling you exactly what you said. Just because she's not using the same words don't mean they don't mean the same thing. Third comment says, why don't they expel the aggressors? And that's what I don't understand with the United States. Do something about these kids. You'd for sure get suspended for threatening people in my high school, expelled for fighting. In my country, that's not a thing. In my home country, you can't do that. They will beat you behind, and on top of that, you get home, your parents beat you behind, and then you get expelled. They don't stand for that. Then your foot got to go around begging other schools to let you in with promises of good behavior. You get expelled again. You got to go to adult ed if you want to finish high school. Your folks teaching you that fighting is the answer. They can take you to work with them. School should be a safe place. Yes, when I first came to the US, that was a culture shock for me. Seeing how these kids, they are so rude to other teachers. That's something we back home we could never think of doing. We could never think of doing that. They beat you behind before you could do that. I had always wanted to be a teacher since I was a little. And then I came to the US and I actually said, no, I don't want to do this. And then eventually I went back to what I wanted to do in the first place. But there was a time where I changed my mind, because these kids are rude. They're rude and disrespectful. And on top of that, you have a lot of them that they're rude, disrespectful, and they don't want to learn. I can deal with the ones that they have a little trouble here and there, but at least they want to learn. I have students that get suspended for fighting and being rude and whatnot, but at the same time, they still do their work. They still learn. The US have got to do something about this, because this is hurting the kids that actually want to learn. As teachers, we shouldn't be spending most of our time on dealing with behaviors. We shouldn't. One comment says, sometimes you see videos of teachers losing it and punching students. I get it. Yep. Yes, I do. I get it. I personally wouldn't do it, even though I'm from a country where students get whoopings with a belt and rulers put in timeout on their knees in the corner. But when I see teachers that are doing that, are basically losing it, I get it. And then our last comment for this post says, middle school teacher here, sorry, but this teacher is not doing this right. Which, yeah, I agree. When I was watching this, I thought she was doing too much back and forth. Either confront the kid about the inappropriate things they said, or don't. This wishy-washy, quote, please don't, and then giving up is not it. If you're going to say something, then be ready to back it up. If a kid said this to me in my classroom, meaning they will beat my ass, that's instant office referral. Call the SRO, the whole thing. If they say that to another student, I will ask them to speak with me after class. Don't give them an audience. If they refuse, then it's an office referral, possible detention. If they stay to chat, then we would actually chat about what they meant. I have had kids say that they have been told they are allowed to defend themselves if attacked. And yeah, I would agree. Maybe that's what this girl meant. I don't think that's what she meant. But this whole vibe the teacher is putting off is weak and effective. And yes, I agree. I don't think this girl meant, oh, if I'm attacked, then blah, blah. No, I really do mean, I really do think she meant, my mom said this and I can do this. Like, that was so random. The randomness of what this little girl said is what's making me feel like it has nothing to do with, or they were told they're allowed to defend themselves. No, I don't agree with that part, but everything else, yeah. The teacher should have contacted office and have her removed. We have to do better. We have to do better. Our third post is titled, When Was American Education Good? It was posted by user Chosen40K on subreddit R Education. A few comments. First one says, my parents both had great educations in the 1930s and 1940s. I had a good one in the late 1960s. My educational experience started to decline in the 70s when the tax revolution began. And by the time I was in college in the 1980s, all of the things that made education good were under direct attack by politicians. Somebody else says, it's hilarious to me that we are still without a doubt the number one superpower in the world, and this narrative that our education sucked is believed by some people. Our education is great when there's money and parents who have time and resources to be involved. No matter how good a school is, you can't make your child show up and care. Unfortunately, that's what parents have to do. And as a teacher and a parent, I incline to agree. Because when it comes to my child, we have rules that they have to follow when it comes to school and home, how they should be behaving when they're in school, when they get home, what they're supposed to do. Basically, all the things that when I was young, my parents did with me, I do with my kids. When you get home, you do your homework. No homework, no playing. We also do no technology after school unless it is homework related. Like, for example, my son, he had to um, go online and look for articles on current events. He's allowed to use his technology for that. But other than that, anything like playing video games and such, we leave that for the weekend. During the summer, they have to do 30-minute IXL before they can get their stuff. So yeah, I do agree that if a parent is not involved, if the kid don't care, yeah, their education will be detrimental. This commenter says, quote, when did American society fail their public school? There, I fixed the title for you. And I do also think that that comes into play too. I do think that. Because I do feel like the United States, when it comes to education, we have to figure out what to do with the problem kids. I believe where I lived previously, we had a school that the problem kids, if eventually they can't learn to behave properly, they send them there. But unfortunately, at some point in the last 10 years, that school that got shut down. So now all of those problem kids, they're basically going to regular school with all the other kids. And now they're making it those kids' problem. Make it hard for them to learn. So yeah, we have to figure out something. We have to make it better. But then again, how can we make education better if we have a group of people that is actively trying to make it even worse? Next comment says, I don't know if it's true across the US, but at least in Kentucky, each school's funding depend partly on the neighborhood it is located in, and that is true. I'm pretty sure that's how it is in the whole United States. So if the school is in a wealthy neighborhood, it is very well funded, yes. They get all the new stuff, renovations, more funding, more teachers. If it is in a poor neighborhood, it tends to be underfunded, yes. And this is where the community will have to come in and badger the superintendent, the mayor, all the people that they elected to do something to help out. If we truly cared about having an educated populace, all schools would be equally funded. Yes, this is going to become a worse problem as charter schools spread, since wealthier people will pull their kids out of the regular school, thereby hurting the regular school's funding more. I had excellent school in the 60s, as I was usually in schools on or near military bases, and those schools receive extra funding. But the years when I went to school in Kentucky, the quality of education was poor. You get what you pay for. Red state governors keep doing their best to undermine public schools by taking curriculum decisions into their own hands, by disadvantaging some children, usually poor or black or trans, etc., in favor of others, by cutting funding, and by making life so hard for teachers that all the good people burn out early. We have to figure something out. This next commenter says Diane Ravitch discusses this in her book Reign of Error. According to Ravitch, things were pretty good up until the Bush Jr. administration. Some misinterpretation of the NAEP metrics, whether through ignorance or malfeasance, led to the media and many elected officials on both sides bashing the education system through the 80s and the 90s. This was all happening before the internet age and way before public awareness of disinformation campaigns. So people generally accepted as truth that our education system was dysfunctional. In reality, scores had been consistently improving since integration until No Child Left Behind under Bush and Race to the Top under Obama derailed things. These programs shifted the focus of school from more varied subjects to test taking. It put all the responsibility on teachers to squeeze performance out of their students and basically force good, experienced teachers out when it didn't work. And that's something that I don't understand, because when it comes to test taking and the scores, there's so much things that go into it. There's so much. Now, I'm not going to lie. I used to think that it was all on teachers. And then I became a teacher and I realized there's so much things that come into it. For example, I have a student that consistently he did really well on his quizzes and tests in my class. Always get B's, high C's, A's for his quizzes and tests. And then come testing, the fast testing, this student, he just went to sleep. He just went to sleep. He slept the whole time. And he scored a 1. And he's a smart kid. And he scored a 1. So a lot of things come into these. There's so many different metrics that come into this that we don't know of. Students could be having a bad morning. Students probably didn't have food to eat. They probably didn't sleep well last night. I had a student last year who basically he would stay up until 4 or 5 in the morning playing video games. I had one, he had to basically he was the oldest and he basically had to take care of his little brother and sisters because mom is working early or late. He was basically a parent. A lot of things come into play when it comes to these test scores. So putting it on teachers, I don't think that's good. That's just going to be forcing out all the good ones. It put all the responsibility on teachers to squeeze performance out of their students and basically force good, experienced teachers out when it didn't work. It led to charter schools and vouchers siphoning money from public systems, cheating, and pretty rampant fraud that's ongoing today. There are lots of statistics out there that show these programs have not been successful in improving scores or outcomes. And actually, for the first time in history, scores in math and reading have declined. So basically, we had a good system for decades, and if people had just left things alone, we'd probably be better off than we are now. And then somebody commented, was this tied into Reagan era a nation at risk report? Also, as a former teacher, there's no way there isn't cheating and fraud going on in schools around testing. When I was doing testing as a special ed teacher, whose kids were required to pass the test that they couldn't comprehend, I was shocked at all of the holes and openings for cheating. Even at my level as a teacher, it was hard not to guide kids through the question. We weren't even trained properly. There's no way a bunch of 8th graders who can barely add two digit numbers are passing A grade level tests. And previously, that never came to mind, the whole cheating thing, until I suspected it last year when one of my students scored a level 5 on a math test, and currently he is struggling in high school with Algebra 1A. Briefly, there's Algebra 1 Honors, which is the highest Algebra 1 you could take. Then there's Algebra 1, and then there's Algebra 1A and 1B, where they take Algebra 1 and they break it into two parts. And Algebra 1 and Algebra 1B is basically one whole year, each of them. He's struggling in Algebra 1A, but yet somehow he manages to make a level 5 last school year, 23-24 school year. It made no sense to me. It wasn't until this year I realized there was cheating going on because, kids talk, and they were basically talking about how they were on their phone looking up the answers. And then one of them even said how the teacher told them, once they were done with their science test, the teacher told them to just leave their screen open. They wanted to make sure that they answered all the questions. And I was confused because on the proctor screen, it shows you the amount of question that the kids have left. So I think that teacher was going around changing the scores because way too many kids were having level 3s, 4s, and 5s. Kids that they don't do anything in school. All they do is get into trouble, fights, and whatnot. And they're just straight terrible students. Like how? It was confusing. So yeah, I think there's cheating going on. Another person commented, when control for poverty, American public high school students are at the top of the world in math and science on the PISA exam. We are just at the bottom in terms of childhood poverty, allowing almost 1 in 4 of our kids to live in poverty. And somebody replied, this is what's always missed by the quote, we spend more for worse results crowd. We spend more because we have more and worse poverty in the U.S. Many of our Title I schools buy 3 meals a day for students because our social safety nets are so poor. The elevated levels of poverty and immigration from impoverished countries mean our rate of special population, including ELLs, utterly dwarf our peer nations. We need more resource specialists, behavior specialists, SPED teachers, social workers, school psychologists, instructional aides, etc. than our peer nations. All of this comes out of the school budget for spending more for worse outcomes. When you remove the welfare state and offload its social costs onto the school system, you don't get to complain when the school system costs more for worse outcomes. The budget is being absorbed by things the welfare state failed to cover that is covered in peer nation. That's a good point. That's a fair point. And then somebody says, now it's good, but propaganda is constantly wanting you to think otherwise. Of course, we could do better. Yes, that's true. But it is good now. And somebody replied, if they would fund school properly, what we're doing now is outstanding. The last school I taught at went from 85% 1 to 2 grade levels behind to less than 20% a grade level behind in 3 years. COVID hit those who don't care about learning really hard. That's true. Because my firstborn, he was in kindergarten. That's when COVID hit. And he's not behind at all. Although I was worried because he does have a language impairment. So I was worried, but he's holding on pretty well. Um, COVID hit those that don't care about learning really hard and had no effect on those who did care about learning. We did this by having three very skilled teachers, myself and two others with varied teaching styles that worked well with different students. We had an admin who let us teach our way. And when we said so and so needs to be with teacher X class, they would be moved and would see huge gains every semester. Then our government decided we were too well funded and cut our budget in half. 40 of our 70 teachers, including two of our three great math teachers, were cut. Wow, that's a bad idea. That's the wrong way to go. Class sizes tripled from 20-ish to God only knows what now, as I don't teach anymore. So my friends in my old town are expecting scores to plummet. We lost our only calculus teacher, me. We lost our interventionist, SPID trained math teacher, and only the newest teacher remained to be flooded with all the teachers. Oh my God, that's a recipe for disaster. That's not going to end well. And gets to make all the lesson plans for pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, and applied math, aka math for the real world. Oh my God, that's too much for a new teacher. If education in the USA was properly funded, and if the laws about truancy were enforced, and if teachers were allowed to teach, then the USA would have the best education system out there. Problem is, all three of those ifs are not met in the current system. If you want to know when our education system was at its best compared to the rest of the world, you could say, quote, in the early 1950s. However, this would not be truly accurate as that was during segregation and the data reported was only from affluent families, which heavily skews the data. Somebody replied, where public schools are funded properly, they are outstanding. They happen to be in upper income suburban communities. The ones not doing so well are in lower income inner city schools, though not all of them are doing poorly. And then somebody replied, aren't there far more behavioral problem in lower income schools though? This will contribute, I would think. Yeah, it contributes. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of kids in the lower income schools, if we were to just give them a chance, they're just waiting. They just want somebody to believe in them, and they will prove to you that they can do it. But because of the race, socioeconomic, and all of that, they basically get written off and no one wants to give them a chance. I teach at a Title I in a lower income school, and these kids, yes, they have behavior issues and whatnot, but they are the sweetest. Watching them trying to learn and trying to get things, the light in their eyes when they realize they can do this. They just want someone to believe in them. And local government needs to do more of that. They need to not write those schools off, because these kids, if you just give them a chance, they can do great things. This wraps up our second episode. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to reading your comments. If you have any suggestions on how I can make this a better experience for you, please let me know. If this is your first time here, please take a second to answer the polling question. Please like and follow on whatever platform you're listening on to be the first to receive notifications of the new episodes. I promise to try my best and drop them weekly on Mondays. If you are a new or aspiring teacher, drop any questions you may have in the comment section so the veteran teachers can help and answer them. Let's look out for each other, as we can always learn from each other. Together, let's educate the world. Bye.